The worst horror movie I ever saw was fucking great.
Hello and welcome to This May Hurt a Bit. My name is James Strayer and this is
John C. Myers.
And we are a horror franchise podcast discussing each film in popular and not so popular horror franchises. And today we are talking about Pumpkinhead 4 Blood Feud from 2007. Yeah, this is it. This is the last in the Pumpkinhead franchise. This is another straight to Sci-Fi Channel episode of the story.
Yeah, so according to an interview with executive producer Carrie O'Reilly on the website Cult Films and the People Who Make Them, said that they initially had the plans to do the third one, and then Sci-Fi Channel got interested. They're like, well, wait a minute, we could probably sell this to Sci-Fi.
Oh, yeah.
And then they kind of threw the fourth one on top of that. Script for 3 was ready to go when they were starting to do pre-production. 4 wasn't fully confirmed yet, and so the director of 3, Jake West, was like, I can't do both.
Smart.
I need to focus on one. So they brought in this guy Mike Hurst to direct this one.
Yeah.
So knowing full well that this one was like, they were planning to release it on like DVD as well, but they were, they knew it was also going to go to the Sci-Fi Channel.
And you're a big Mike Hurst fan, right? I mean, you shared a DVD box cover earlier.
Well, just of the one film of his called The Baby Juice Express.
Wow. It's such film. Yeah.
I mean, he's prolific. He's done a bunch of stuff, such as Baby Juice Express.
Yuck. Don't, actually do look that up. Just please look up that box cover. Yeah, I think this is definitely a case of if you're going to get the band back together, and by the band, I mean literally just Lance Henriksen, and you're going to fly him over to Europe, keep him an extra few days, maybe another week, and just slam on some more of his soliloquies for part 4. And then get him home. Yeah. And then film everything afterwards. So it's all about the budget and the schedule for these kind of things, for sure.
Yeah. And according to that same producer, to Carrie O'Reilly, that both films were brought in under budget. So good job.
I mean, hey, that's what a producer likes to tell you. We brought this on time and under budget.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. Why would you go like, nope.
Yeah.
Like, I fucked up bad.
Right. Yeah. Going into this one, I was kind of not looking forward to it in a way, but this setting gets a lot of goodwill from me. I like the whole like hollers of Kentucky. I like the kind of backwoods element. I don't want to say I've always been drawn to it, but in the last like many years, I've just been excited to like think about like, Southern stuff, Kentucky, like that kind of, that setting I dig. I'm not saying the movie worked for me by any means, but like that kind of stuff just gives me a little bit of goodwill right out of the gate.
Sure. And I mean, like it was done so well in the first one that just the atmosphere of everything. But this one, this suffers from the same thing as 3, where it's just brown. And so as a result, like the movie is just very drab looking throughout. I'd say even more so than 3.
Yeah.
But like, it also seems like 4 was initially supposed to be like at the turn of the century or something, because it seems very old timey. And then because like the buildings and the way people dress and act, it just felt like more
a place out of time, if you will. I'm sure it was given that kind of thought.
Yeah. Just like the buildings looked like it was a saloon in an Old West thing.
Oh, sure. I mean, they looked like just sets built, like just the front with no actual building. What do you call that? Like just like
seemed like something out of Deadwood.
Right. Yeah,
the
for
facade
sure.
or
The facade.
Whatever.
There you go. Yeah. But we open by cross-cutting back and forth between two people on dirt bikes, and one is I just called him a sad guy in a cabin looking at photos. I don't even think we're given a name at any point. Presumably he's looking at photos of his dead wife, which of course that just means that wife was killed in some terrible way, and he's probably raised Pumpkinhead. So we're kind of like dropped right into a previous Pumpkinhead story, which is, now that I'm talking about it, that's kind of interesting, because we move on to another Pumpkinhead story. So like Pumpkinhead's at work as we start. He's on another job, is what I'm saying. He's
on another gig.
Yeah.
Fiverr Pumpkinhead,
right.
Which this Pumpkinhead is basically Fiverr Pumpkinhead, the way he looks compared to the first one. Yeah, it's kind of like the first one in that like you see the interaction of like, Pumpkinhead on the job, as you say. But the way they try to tie it to the story overall really is a long way to go. And for a long time, I kept going like, well, I would just kind of remember, oh yeah, there was the thing with the motorbikes. What was that about?
Yeah.
You do see Pumpkinhead a little bit at work. And some of that is also the result of the Sci-Fi Channel. Like they had said again in that same interview, Carrie O'Reilly said that in part 3, the reason you see Pumpkinhead right away is that they almost had the picture like in the bag, like picture lock, all that. And then Sci-Fi Channel was like, well, we want a little teaser at the front so you see the monster, before like the first commercial break and see that. And so I think some of that is why it wouldn't surprise me if that's kind of why you see this as well. It's like, well, we need to have something where the monster is doing something.
That makes sense because the first time you see Pumpkinhead in this movie, he's like sailing through the air in a really funny, like he's not flying, he's leaping. And it is pretty goofy looking.
It's very goofy. It seemed like they reduced the CG-ness of this one. Not a lot, not as much CG stuff, which
I think they did.
Could be a budget thing. I don't know, but I also am glad that they did. It would have been good to see. It would have been awesome to see like the same exact poses, but like something else. Like he's no longer climbing the church. He's climbing their building.
Oh, sure. Like recycled shots. Yeah.
Punching through a different stained glass window.
Right. Yeah, we're cross-cutting between these two dirt bikes, which in itself is kind of a callback to the first one, which is what killed Ed's son. And a sad guy looking at his wife. They finally meet up. One of the dirt bike guys gets killed pretty quickly. And the other dirt bike guy goes to the cabin where the sad guy is. And they start just like screaming at each other about like, I should have admitted to accidentally killing your wife.
I'm sorry about Angela, you know that. We were drunk. No, I was going to say we were wrong.
At that point, Pumpkinhead comes in. The guy, who we learn his name is Dallas, ends up shooting the sad man who's lost his wife, thereby killing Pumpkinhead outright. I don't know. That's your James Bond cold open. Your initial mission from Pumpkinhead.
I do like that Pumpkinhead just disappears, and I honestly do like that there's no like CG of him like and then like dissolving or something like that. It's just he's not there anymore.
Yeah.
It's this almost like David Lynch like cut of boop, and just blinked out of existence.
Right.
There's ways you can do that they really work for me, and this was close. I did kind of enjoy that.
Yeah.
I also did enjoy the gore, like right off the bat. He's just
there was a bit of that,
yeah, just like pulling off that guy's head, and you got a little bit of the strobe lights, like they're back. I guess maybe they were just on back order or something,
right? The big strobes didn't arrive to the forest on time for the last one, so
not for part 3, but
we got them this one. So 5 years later, we're at a wedding. One of the characters goes outside, and there's a banner hanging that says McCoy's, and 2 drunk guys drive up. And they are identified as Hatfields. And I go, yeah.
I could not believe it. This is for viewers not in the US or that just don't know this. This was a little bit of American folklore about these 2 feuding families. It was around the Civil War, where there was these feuding families, and the only reason, and it kind of like it was a big enough thing.
Yeah.
It went on for a while, but I think it even ended before the 1900s.
I think so.
I only knew about it through like Looney Tunes and like references to it.
I studied in college for a little while. Like I didn't take a course on it, but I did read a book about it.
You were a Hatfieldologist.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so it was very, very funny to me. Like right off the bat, I'm like, oh my God, we're doing Pumpkinhead versus the Hatfield and McCoys. Hey, that was about as excited as I got about that concept.
Yeah, right. That's our blood feud. We have title.
Yeah.
The Hatfields waltz in to break up this wedding, and they just start a Roadhouse style fight, and they just like tear up the place. There's a big bar brawl, and nobody wins in a fight, as Dalton says.
That's true.
Yeah. A bunch of the Hatfields go back to one of their houses, and they continue with their hooting and hollering, and evidently the McCoy's Uncle Abner was hit with a car and wrecked both of his legs, and now he's in a wheelchair.
Well, the McCoys hit the Hatfield's uncle.
That's
Uncle
it.
Abner, who's in the chair.
Right. And so to make things right, they were supposed to turn over the car, and that started the entire feud. Now, I thought to myself, I should look up before we record what started the Hatfield and McCoy's feud. I didn't. So sorry, but
it had to do with someone coming back from the Civil War and getting killed, and then blame each other.
Yeah, the whole point of the Hatfields and McCoy's feud, especially used in a narrative like this, is that it's been going on for so long that nobody really even knows why they started a fighting in the first place.
Yeah.
and that these two families just hate each other no matter what, and they're just gonna like kill each other and burn down property and all that kind of stuff forever. So that's the world in which we're living here.
Yeah, but it's a bit harder because they put a name to it. They, that it's this car.
Yeah.
And even like a little bit later, not to jump too far ahead, there's a conversation between our heroine and Uncle Abner where he's like, man, I don't even know what happened to the car. Then none of this matters. He also seems like he's not that invested in this whole feud.
Yeah.
But he's doing nothing to stop it. And I'm like, well, then this sucks. But it's because they want to try to do this whole star-crossed lovers, Romeo and Juliet thing because daughter of the Hatfields loves the son of the McCoys. The fact that it's like so close too, like that it's like, no, it's like one generation removed. It's not that.
Sure.
It doesn't feel as epic of a blood feud.
Yeah.
Granted, I haven't had a lot of blood feuds, so I shouldn't.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have, and they're tough. So I'll leave it at that.
All right, I will forgive me for speaking out of turn.
You want to
Don't start a blood feud with me.
You want to join my blood feud? Fight on my side. Jody, one of our protagonists, she's in love with a McCoy boy. We were introduced to him in the previous wedding scene. His name is Ricky, and he has this very sullen Christian Bale look about him.
Yeah.
Evidently, she sneaks out to meet up with him. Some of the Hatfields, the sons, threaten Abner and wants to know where Jody went.
Where did she go, old man? We saw her creeping out.
Just tell us, Uncle Abner, and we'll let you go.
Don't make us have to bust up your chair.
They want to know, like, if she's sneaking out to see a boy, and then she sneaks out to see him, and they, of course, begin one of their many conversations about how they need to run away together. They can never be together when they're with their families. It's a very like Romeo and Juliet type of like old story here.
A lot of dubbed voices in this one.
Oh goodness.
Because like when they approached the wedding, I was like, that's the same guy as 3.
But no half-ears are allowed. It's just the way it is.
Like that's the same dub voice guy. But then there's a bunch more.
A whole bunch.
Like, I think Abner is looped. Like lot of people, which makes for some very, very funny moments.
Yeah. Sarah, the sister of Ricky, is put on watch so that Ricky and Jody can fool around in the woods, which is all just weird in itself, I thought.
Yeah.
But
the less said about that, the better.
Yeah, let's move right along after that. The Hatfields show up, a couple of Hatfields show up, and they chase poor Sarah through the woods, and eventually she trips and rolls down a hill and hits her head on a tree, promptly dying. Hatfields find the couple, and they tie Ricky to the back of a truck by his ankles and just drag him around. He breaks free and runs to look for Sarah's body immediately and finds her and screams at the moonlight. Still not that engaging.
No, and it's also like you can already see where they're going with this. Yeah. Where it's like, well, they killed her, but they didn't really kill her. It was an accident. They were just chasing her to do bodily harm to her.
Right.
So it already feels like it's pulling punches a little bit.
Ricky takes Sarah's body to Haggis's shack in the woods. I was happy to see Haggis back, I suppose. Same Haggis from part 3, so she's the younger woman speaking in that voice all over again.
Yeah, and not that much younger. I think she's like in her 50s or whatever. That actress.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was a little bit wrong on that. That is Lynn Verall, but still just doing a Patty and Selma ass voice.
I already told you, it ain't for me to decide.
So Ed shows up again as a vision to Haggis and encourages Haggis to send Ricky away, just being like, do not grant him what he wants here. I will say, her makeup is looking a little bit more Pumpkinhead-like in this film. I wonder if that was a conscious choice to make her look like Pumpkinhead. Something about her nose and her snout and everything like that.
It's a little inhuman, sure. So it could just be like the way that it's lit. They're still like futzing around in daylight, which it just seems weird for Haggis to do.
Tough.
And later for Pumpkinhead to do. But you know what, Ed? Just fucking be dead, man. Good God.
I mean,
apparently this is his curse, which we'll get into how none of that makes any sense. But like, imagine you're Haggis. You're like, I'm trying to do my thing here. I don't need you yelling at me every time.
Yeah.
It didn't work out for you. It could work out for them. You know, people love vengeance.
Right.
You're not helping. They can't hear you. I can. It's annoying.
Ricky pleads his case about getting revenge on the Hatfields and how they are keeping him and Jody apart. And then Haggis goes out to the woods to pour some blood on some leaves and then calls forth Pumpkinhead. So
Yeah, what happened there?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions about this. So to me, this is like, you usually call him Pumpkinhead when you feel like you've been wronged. Somebody's died. So can Ricky have it both ways here and just be like, they killed my sister. Also, I want to be with Jody. So you got to kill all the Hatfields here. That, like, yeah, I feel like he's asking for too much of Pumpkinhead.
It was a lot like we're confused about in 3, like what exactly was who was the vengeance supposed to be against?
Right.
Yeah, in that one. And in this one, yeah, it's a much sort of larger scope because they don't know exactly who killed them. So he can't narrow it down.
Yeah.
So he just throws out the thing of all Hatfields except Jody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you know what? Haggis has product to move. She doesn't have time to really get nitty gritty. Doesn't like whatever. Like, you want this vengeance? Let's sell this vengeance. But it is a bit of a bummer how like we've gone from let's take the blood of you and your child and feed it to this thing that I've grown in the pumpkin patch, and it will emerge as Pumpkinhead. To that's like the same thing, but with Lance Henriksen's body. To I'm just gonna go dump some motor oil in the woods, and then Pumpkinhead's gonna pop out of some leaves.
Right.
Okay. The fact that they make several references to this movie about how like essentially Pumpkinhead is Lance Henriksen. There's never been another Pumpkinhead, apparently. Except for the one that killed Lance Henriksen.
Right.
But so it's so weird how we're the 4th one in, and technically you can just skip over 2 because
that just doesn't seem to matter
with 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like it's always Lance Henriksen. It's not like, well, what about the people who did who wanted the revenge in 2? Or I'm sorry, the people that wanted the revenge in 3. Shouldn't they become Pumpkinhead? Shouldn't the guy that got shot by Dallas, shouldn't he be the Pumpkinhead now?
Exactly.
I thought that's what was going to set up too.
Right.
And Lance Henriksen was like, no, I'm still around as like the Pumpkinhead whisperer, but no, it's still just like basically Lance Henriksen, I guess.
Yeah. He then goes on to, Pumpkinhead goes on to slaughter a couple of Hatfields by slashing open one's stomach. You get a cool shot of like some guts spilling out, and that was all right. And the other guy tries to shoot it with a shotgun, but ends up catching his moonshine distillery on fire, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, that one is not on Pumpkinhead. Yeah, that is a bonus kill. That's a bonus body,
right?
Because this, and by the way, this moonshine, the bit in the moonshine has a very you're my favorite customer from The Room, like that pet store kind of thing.
Yes.
Relax, just here for a drink. Did you hear something weird just then? Like an animal. But no damn animal I've ever heard around here.
I didn't hear nothing.
Too drunk, probably.
Best moonshine in the county. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Pumpkinhead like throws a guy, knocks over a bunch of moonshine, and then like goes to fire a gun and sets himself on fire.
Yeah.
Pumpkinhead didn't make him do that. Mm-hmm. That's on you,
man. Is that vengeance? No. That's
bad luck for you. That's what that is.
And of course, Ricky is feeling this just as in past films.
Yeah, but I do like the idea of Ricky being like, oh, yeah, that one was fine. That's not me. Right. That one is just like, I'm a little sore.
Ed Harley appears to Jody and mumbles something about experiencing joy only by having a son once. I don't know why he's starting to show up to Jody, but I don't know if there's any rules surrounding who he shows up to.
No, absolutely not. It's like however he feels, because it's him showing up to Bunt in 3. Exactly. At least it doesn't make any sense, but you could have, at least extrapolate that like, well, Bunt has been touched by Pumpkinhead and like somehow is related. So, okay.
Yeah.
I guess still doesn't make any sense, but this is just Lance Henriksen's just bopping around. Stuck between worlds and just bothering everybody.
Right.
And also like when he does that, like, what about your wife, man? No, I don't get it. It's my son. Yeah. My son was so perfect and beautiful and whatever. Because in the first one, when he has that emotional response, like, yeah, it's just like you immediately lost your son. He was your light, whatever. But to just like however many years after the fact, still be like, yep, that's the one thing I had in my life ever. Damn. That's cold blooded.
Doesn't even think about his general store. I mean, that was a pretty cool small business.
Yeah.
Gosh.
When it had the feed.
Yeah, right. We see the dead body of the guy who got his gut spilled out as the sheriff in town approaches, and who will this be but Dallas from the beginning? So you finally got your questions answered about where that guy was coming from earlier on.
And again, Lance Henriksen shows up to this guy to yell at him.
I told you 5 years ago, didn't I? This thing be coming back. you run out of time.
Basically says, I told you so.
Yeah. He's been dead for a while. Why is he dressed like a community college pottery teacher? He's just so like casual, like, hey man, whatever. Like there's nothing spooky or interesting about the way he looks. Just kind of annoying.
Yeah. Cut to a couple of little kid bullies who are casually pushing some little girl back and forth. Now, I'm not one to make fun of child actors that much, but this scene was Yep. That scene was pretty funny. Just watching these two kids just like barely shoving this kid back and forth.
And then like very, very dubbed as well.
Exactly. And they're reciting the Pumpkinhead poem.
And that one of them says to Jody, when Jody comes out and tells them to stop and asks about Pumpkinhead, they specifically bring up Ed Hardy as the first one to ever summon him.
Yeah. That was
just canonically incorrect.
Yeah, that was the first moment, and I did write down like, oh, that's an interesting new fact. Is this where we're going with the lore now?
Yeah.
Moving forward in this film and through the rest of the franchise, being this film, is that Ed Harley is the first person to summon Pumpkinhead, I suppose. So. I keep wanting to call him Ed Hardy, and I know that's like some sort of like weird fashion line that I'm just kind of unfamiliar with
it's
too.
It's for dudes that do MMA and shit.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Like MMA,
which is not exactly Ed Harley,
No,
not at all.
Not his
style.
You called him Ed Hurley a lot last episode, which was very funny.
Right. Yeah.
Because I keep wanting to call him that as well. I have to stop myself.
There's a funeral for Sarah. Ricky is there, and now he's wearing a necklace that is very much like Ed's. He's got a little like totem type of thing. Where did he get it? I don't know.
It's Ed and his son. It has nothing to do with Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
It was there to signify that it was Ed at the end that turned into Pumpkin. Yeah. It's like they tried, but not really, which I think is more frustrating if you just ignored it entirely.
Sure.
Rather than kind of like paste it over. But
yeah,
these things change. Like I said, 2 was sort of this alternate telling of the thing. And they're just riffing on it, I guess, in this one as well. I guess that's every second one. Every other Pumpkinhead movie has to have blood in the title and has to kind of change the lore some.
Yeah. Some Hatfields start setting up a bear trap. And since I'm replaying RE4 right now, of course, I thought of I thought of my adventures as Leon. But Pumpkinhead grabs one of them and pulls him down into a pit, which was kind of strange. It's just like, was that just like a bear trap, as they call it, with like covered up with like leaves? Pumpkinhead is down in there.
Was that where he came from?
Right. That might have been.
He was in the circle. He was in the circle of pumpkins.
Which
I did like that shot when she resurrects him. How it's like the people standing around, and then the camera dollies and it fades to Haggis in the middle of all the pumpkins.
Totally.
But like Pumpkinhead has set up a trap. Also, just the sound of the bear trap opening. Is like someone's opening a hangar door. It's wild.
If it was a bear, this'll take care of him. It killed Tommy.
Other guys run away. Of course, one of them gets caught in his own bear trap. His friend starts sawing his leg off for him so he can get free. But then I would do that for you, John, just so you know. Like, I would saw your leg off.
You know, I would ask that you spend more than 2 seconds on the trap.
Oh, okay.
Before you start it, because he just like waves his hand out. It's like, oh, it's not opening. It just starts carving up his leg.
And of course, he has to run away because he's scared, which means our main guy has to go at his own leg with his own knife and saw his own leg.
Carrie Elwes style.
Exactly. He finishes it himself, crawls away until Pumpkinhead takes his hand and makes him stab himself in the mouth with his own knife, which is just kind of like what you do when you're like 8 years old and you're like wrestling with your brother or sister type of thing. You know, it's just
with
not that
knives?
Interesting. Yeah. You didn't wrestle with knives?
No. We were more into nunchucks.
Yeah. He then chases down another couple of guys, tosses one in the air, and I thought, like, oh, this is going to be one of those dumb Pumpkinhead kills where he just, like, slashes somebody off screen. But they did make the guy's head land in a bear trap, which closed. That was great. Full points for that one.
John Kramer watched that and was like, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
I could not have planned that better myself.
Right.
Which I noticed this time around, and I'm assuming it was probably the same costume in 3, but like the change in the Pumpkinhead costume, gone are the big like bony outcropping.
Oh,
from the
you're
shoulders.
right.
Now just little horns, which immediately made me think of Wishmaster 3 and 4, how that guy has little horns on his shoulders.
Yeah.
So I guess like that's what you do when you go to video, is you just put little horns on the shoulders.
Right.
We'll see if that goes forward.
Yeah. Now I need to see a side by side. Yeah.
Like I bet when we get into Puppet Master movies, they're all going to start having little spikes.
Jody makes her way to Haggis's shack and hangs out. She wanders around outside in the mud for a while. Here's Pumpkinhead growling and then actually comes face to face with him. And there was something about this edit that was it was edited like a comedy for some reason. Like, I felt like the reveal of Pumpkinhead behind that rock was more attuned to like Gremlins or something. Like, I laughed out loud and rewound that segment like multiple times.
So he's like finds his home base basically.
Yeah.
And he's there. It's during the day. It's like, is he just like pooping in there?
Yeah,
like,
he's just hanging
out. What did
out.
she interrupt him doing?
Yeah.
Which, like every other one has been, well, not 2, but so I guess again in every other Pumpkinhead movie, you have to have Pumpkinhead just farting around during the day.
Yep.
Because in 1 and 3, it essentially like all happens in the same night.
Right.
I think, although 3, that would make for a very long night. But seeing Pumpkinhead in the day is just kind of weird.
I don't like it.
It's like, but it's like, what is he doing with his time then? Like, is he like drawing up plans? He's a monster. Just go kill a guy.
He's digging in more pits and covering them with leaves.
Yes, I guess that's true. Those don't just appear. I'm sorry. I should respect Pumpkinhead's labor.
Right. Haggis shows up and assures her that Pumpkinhead won't kill her because Ricky loves her. They get a little bit of a shot that's reminiscent of Alien 3, of the alien going up to Ripley and getting really close and just being like, nope, I'm not going to kill you.
Oh, yeah.
Going to go away. Jody hangs out with Haggis for a bit, who distills down the plot here.
You want your whole clan dead, so you can be together.
So again, I'm just like, you get a twofer out of this? Like, I thought vengeance was 1 and it was more defined, a life for a life type of thing, instead of like, I can't be with her, so kill off her entire family. That doesn't seem to stack up.
And I like the concept of trying to introduce like more complications to this, telling the same story again.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Well, 3 was like just that, but with more people making the wish, which didn't really matter or make much sense. But yeah, it still seems lacking because at the core, it's still the same thing. Just, hey, go kill people, because that's what Pumpkinhead does.
Right.
Yeah, just the thing of like everyone but her isn't that exciting. Because particularly Lance Henriksen keeps appearing to her and telling her that she's the one that can stop it, when that is 100% not even true.
Right.
I do like when Ricky is talking to Haggis. I like it. I don't like this. They try to like deepen the Haggis lore a bit. Because like Lance Henriksen is like, you're just a gatekeeper. You're going to turn to ash in a sack. And she's like, hey, shut up.
Yeah.
It weakens Haggis. And I like Haggis just being this unknowable, like, what even is she? But it makes it just seem like she's doing clerical work or, as this middleman.
She's HR.
And that's much less interesting. Yeah. I'm going to get promoted. They promised me.
Ed Harley shows up once again, and Haggis actually says, Ed Harley, back again. And this is where he says,
yeah, it's my curse and there ain't no end to it.
And if that doesn't sum up Lance Henriksen's thoughts about this franchise, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
Like that moment, I was just like, oh, poor Lance. You're just like, it's my curse. And I keep appearing in these sequels. So
couldn't we have gotten still from Millennium for this?
Right. I have many stills to choose from.
I don't know if we've talked about this on the show before, but there's a movie that James and I saw called Hardwired. With Cuba Gooding Jr. and Val Kilmer. And at the end of the movie, they show the big bad guy that Cuba Gooding Jr. has to go fight, and it's a picture of Lance Henriksen. Lance Henriksen is not in the credits, but what is in the credits is still from Millennium. That they just used a promo picture from that show.
So good.
So I bet Lance Henriksen's like, that sounds great. Can you just like throw that up for Pumpkinhead 4? I still pay me, but I just don't want to be in it.
Yeah.
License this photo.
Ed then says to Jody that she's the only one that can stop Pumpkinhead. And I can't stand this kind of writing because immediately I was like, why? Why is she the only one? That sort of happens, but not really. It's not like she's the only one.
She's not the only one. And then just, is there a law as part of your curse that you can't just be straight up with people?
Yeah,
Ed Harley?
Exactly. Yeah.
like the stuff he tells the sheriff is so opaque and does not matter.
Yeah.
And, like, particularly with how that ends up playing up, just seems really crummy on his part.
Sure, yeah.
And then just
Give
tell
me
her
details.
Yeah, or just like kill Ricky. That's it.
Right.
That's all you got to do. The end.
You prefer that over you're going to have to do the hardest thing you've ever done.
Yeah.
What?
Like
I don't know.
Math? I don't know.
Yeah. Eat 2 feet of meatball sub? I don't know. Like, why did I go there?
I don't know. That sounds delicious.
That sounds awesome.
I'm willing to make that sacrifice for Lance Henriksen.
Yeah.
I will eat a 24-inch meatball sub to save lives.
I've been really craving a meatball sub lately.
That sounds really good, actually.
I just want to do that. Anyway, Dallas confronts Jeb. I guess Jeb is like, King Hatfield. 6 Hatfields are dead, but I do love how they just so easily turn into, you heard of Pumpkinhead? And it's just like a normal thing that they start talking about from here on out. Maybe it's just the fact that Pumpkinhead is a funny name, but it's just like when anybody utters that name in a serious tone, it made me laugh.
Oh, absolutely. Like, Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
There's too many fucking Hatfields. And
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, too many McCoys. Like, there's
Yeah.
so many of these people. I don't know who they are. I don't know
not at
who's
all.
who. And I could not care less.
No, not at all.
It should have just been like, here's our warring uncles, and that's it. But they're like all these hangers on and stuff like that.
All these kids, yeah. They reiterate in this scene that Ed Harley started it all, and Jody mentions that she saw Pumpkinhead. Ricky won't let it kill her, so that's why she's so terribly important. I literally at this point just have in my notes written Bumpkinhead, and I thought that was funny to myself.
That is great.
Yeah. Bumpkinhead. See, there we go.
He's got little overalls
Yeah.
on, no shirt, obviously, and just a piece of hay he's chewing on.
Nothing made me think of that. That's it. Bumpkinhead.
No, I'm for it.
The McCoys try to burn down Jody's mom's house now, and they all, after they set the entire thing on fire with Molotov cocktails, which again, I did want to mention, I do love the art direction on the props of all the beer bottles because it literally just says beer really big.
What I love is that it's not just like one brand. There's like the beer brand that looks like Budweiser. There's the beer brand that looks like this other thing.
Yep.
But they're all just labeled beer.
Just says beer. So they make
beautiful
Molotov cocktails and try to burn down a house. After a while, though, I think they realize the error of their ways, and they all band together to save the mom, and they save Jody, who is trapped.
Yeah, Jody is the voice of reason. She's like, can't you hear? The mom is in there dying, and the hillbilly code prevents them from killing women, I guess, except for Sarah. Yeah. And they're like, well, let's go save her. And which I like in that struggle, there's one guy that's beating the crap out of the head McCoy. Mm-hmm. Who's an old man.
The real McCoy?
Yeah, he's the real McCoy. he's the techno artist, the real McCoy. But yeah, just like, all right, you guys take the tough ones. I'll just beat up this old man.
Exactly.
I'm the tough guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they rescue, she's able to rescue Ma Hatfield, and then Jody jumps out of the window onto a blanket they're all holding.
Right.
Which I think would be fun. I would have a good time doing it.
Yeah.
I please don't burn my house down. But I would like to jump out of a window onto a
That might be,
trampoline.
yeah, it looks kind of fun.
That would be a good time.
Yeah. At this point, there's a large section where I just stopped taking notes because my partner, Jill, just came up and started watching with me. And she was just like, would I like this movie? And I was like, well, you have watched Justified about 15 times all the way through. No joke. Yeah. So, but she loves this kind of setting completely. And she was just like sitting there watching with me, like kind of in rapt attention. And I was like, this is just Pumpkinhead 4, man. Like, it's not that good.
What you need to do is give her some glasses with like a cowboy hat. And a Marshall star like painted on there. So then like the whole time she's like, this is so good. This is good.
Raylan Givens. Yeah.
Yeah. But they're all Raylan Givens.
But yeah, it was cute because she was legitimately interested in what was going on, considering she doesn't usually like horror movies.
Kudos to her. I could not be interested in what's going on. So I'm glad that someone is.
Yeah.
This was a tough watch.
It was.
And it's not even like, some of the acting's really bad, and as I mentioned, the picture's really drab, but like, I feel like I've seen worse, but still, this was just really dull.
Yeah. Pops McCoy drives up in the car and gives it to the Hatfields. It's the old car that started the whole fussing and a hollering a long time ago. The aforementioned one that hit Abner and said, here, you have the car. I'm going to put an end to this blood feud, all that kind of stuff. And they shake hands. For
being in, allegedly 2000 whatever, or even 19, like that is an old car.
Yeah.
That is like a Model A, or, I'm sure it's not, but it's just a chitty bang bang ass car.
Yeah, right. That just goes to show how long this blood feud has been going on.
Yeah.
There's a meeting of the Hatfield and McCoys in a room, and the hooting and the hollering is just off the charts. It is just for the next 5 minutes, it's just like guys in flannel screaming at each other over nothing. Ricky has a meeting with Pumpkinhead, which makes me laugh. They do meet up in the woods somehow, and he just says, kill them all. So basically at this point, I'm expecting a Wishmaster 1 level of carnage where Pumpkinhead's going to go in and like kick the crap out of everybody in that house. And like my expectations are sky high at this point for like some cool violence and gore. I wonder how that'll settle.
Yeah. And honestly, like Ricky, this I know you're a bumpkin and all, but this meeting could have been an email. You could have just left a message with Haggis.
Yeah,
I did not.
Could have been a text.
I spent all day pooping.
Yeah, right.
This is what I do during the day.
Right.
Leave me alone.
Yes.
It's Pumpkinhead's time.
Right. They finally bring up those who are marked, which I thought was interesting because that's been a concept that I've enjoyed since the first one. Like you're a marked person, they're coming after you, but they just like gloss over it so quickly here.
Yeah, and that's something I felt was missing. That idea, and something I liked so much in the first one, that like they all know what's going on. That everyone in the hall or whatever just can feel it in the air. They know, but in 3, like now they're so far removed from everything.
Yeah,
but you'd still think that these really backward people that seem like they're in the 1900s would have some sort of connection to it.
Sure, they do declare that you got to kill Ricky McCoy, which of course doesn't go over well. Dallas finally tells why he knows about Pumpkinhead and tells the entire story from the prologue.
This land's gonna be soaking in blood unless you find and kill Ricky McCoy.
That he knows how to take out Pumpkinhead, who finally now approaches the house, pulls one of the guys out the front door in a pretty funny sequence. I thought that they were going to do the classic Pumpkinhead pulls on his legs and you pull the torso back into the house and you get like a cut in half type of thing.
Yeah.
No budget for that.
Nope.
So instead, he just tosses him into the yard in a very like weird looking like CGI shot where the body goes flying and then he just goes up and stomps on his face.
It's brutal. Just the head, just like it's made out of watermelon. Just boosh.
Everyone gears up. They get out the guns. Ed Harley shows up again to Jody, reminding her that she's the only one who can stop it. Again, for some reason.
Yeah.
Whatever. She's the chosen one.
I'm not going to tell you, though. I'm impish Ed Harley.
Yeah. She has to do the hardest thing there is, which, of course, is just going to be shooting Ricky. Like, it's obviously, like, telegraphed in here at this point.
Well, and this is something that I'm kind of glad this is the last one. I'm getting really tired of is the, like, let's spend a whole bunch of time shooting at Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen, but let's just keep doing it for a while.
Especially later with Dallas.
And let's learn nothing.
Yeah.
And this also during this, it's like Pumpkinhead busts in through the top of through the roof. When you're seeing the monster like up against other people, you can really like it's just a guy standing there. Like Pumpkinhead rarely ever does things where it involves moving around. It's like fighting Steven Seagal in that way, where it's like he's just going to be affixed right here.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is just dudes running at him and him just kind of swatting them away,
smacking him, backhanding him. About 4 guys actually try to attack him. One gets his head smashed in. Another one gets just tossed out the window, Jason style. One guy, he tries to punch Pumpkinhead in the mouth, but ends up getting his fist bitten, which was kind of funny. It was cool. Like, I kind of wish he would have just pulled back a stump rather than like, it just kind of looked like he scraped his hand a bit. Yeah. Not as exciting. Right. But whatever. I still like that they bothered to do something kind of silly. Old Man Hatfield shoots at Pumpkinhead, but then gets slashed up by the claws, like by several like slashing claws, like video game style, really. Yeah, like Edward Scissorhands him. Yeah, there you says go. The same kind of like noise. That's Uncle Abner, who this whole blood feud's about. He's dead now, so who cares? Yeah.
blood feud over.
Yeah, we moved on from Little Abner. Jody takes this opportunity to jump out a window. Ed Harley appears once again to Dallas and encourages him to fight Pumpkinhead to save his soul. Whatever that means.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because he's at the beginning, he's like, you're going to be cursed for life. How?
Right.
Like, are you just going to keep showing up all the time?
Yeah.
Because that's happening. That must be my curse.
Right.
Because it's never really explained what that is. And then he's like, yeah, you have to do the right thing. Oh, boy. Save your soul. Go try to shoot him with a gun after everyone else shooting him with a gun doesn't work. But you somehow it'll work. Yeah. Trust me. Wink.
Because he's the cop, you know. Dallas has a standoff with Pumpkinhead, shoots him. Again, I just wrote in my notes here, what's your plan? You know, again, going what you were saying, like, why are we shooting Pumpkinhead again?
It's all we got. It's all we know.
Promptly knocked down the stairs, then gets knocked out the front door. He tries to get an equip here. He says, smile, you son of a bitch. And a very non-impactful shot then gets his belly slashed open. I think it's just the edit of that whole sequence that just feels not intense at all to me.
No, it's nothing. Well, it's also because it's been sort of built up in this story, and it's not like Dick Halloran in The Shining, where it's like when he shows up and immediately gets knocked off, like this last ray of hope is gone.
Yeah.
This is just, we've been trying to tie this guy to the story and, he's going to do so. Oh, I guess that didn't work out.
Right, exactly.
It felt very weightless.
Yeah.
More weightless than his body being thrown out of the cabin, which was a very funny shot.
Funny shot, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it feels like when his guts fall out that those are CG.
Yeah, it looked like it, yeah. It is one of those cases where, like, and again, I sort of sympathize with people in these situations where we're just like, okay, we got to get these shots. We got to get the shot of him getting his guts ripped open. Ooh, that one didn't work so well. And we're in the editing room and that's what we've got to work with. So it's just not going to be impactful, but it just didn't land.
Apparently Michael Hurst was a lot like, had just come off of, he's done several like sci-fi channel movies and other stuff. And it's a lot more like, I know what I need and I'm just going to shoot this.
Oh, interesting.
Get this basic coverage. Again, getting from that interview, like he's a lot more like, I'll work on you with the lines and whatever, but blocking wise, just you go there, do that. Okay, moving on.
I wonder if he's also an editor, because some directors who think that way are also editors, and they're just like, I can see the edit in my head, so I know exactly what I need, which is, I don't know, I guess a little bit admirable, but like, how does that like free you up for fun on set?
They might not have had the budget for fun.
I mean, there you go.
To get dreamy.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't get dreamy.
What's the point of even doing Pumpkinhead?
I just had here too many shots of Pumpkinhead just walking around in this one.
Yeah.
Like there was something about, there was a shot right here where I think it was just like a shot that was like almost framed on his waist or like from the waist up or something like that. And I was just like, I'm sorry, but he just looks like a guy in a suit here. He doesn't look mysterious. He doesn't look menacing. He's just like tooling around.
A lot of that. And it's really unimpressive considering like, it's still like the suit is decent. Don't get me wrong. The suit's decent. It's just not as good as the Stan Winston suit.
Yeah.
But it's also, the way they frame it, the stuff they have been doing a lot of time just is a lot less interesting. You're seeing way too much Pumpkinhead.
And that's such a funny thing with this kind of stuff. I mean, I know it was made in 2007, but I weirdly just like think of Pumpkinhead 4 as like almost an 80s movie because I'm thinking of it in context of the first one. But obviously the whole like less is more is a well-trod argument, but like we thought it was kind of funny and endearing when the Pumpkinhead suit couldn't do very much in the first movie.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, isn't that kind of funny? He can't even walk through the door. But now we're seeing him move too much and we don't like it.
Right, yeah.
And so I would rather have the first one where it's just the limitations of the technology of the time made it better in a charming sort of way.
Yeah, and I think they were able to utilize it a bit more. It was kind of cheesy in certain aspects, but like him just standing there is not good.
Yeah.
So it's either him just walking alone or him just standing there.
Yeah. Pumpkinhead goes after Jody. And then Ricky intervenes, shouting about how this isn't what he wanted. He gets backhanded. The classic Pumpkinhead.
The classic, yeah.
Yeah.
Which this was an interesting idea that they didn't. I wish they would have done more with. The fact Ricky is become absolutely comfortable with this vengeance.
Sure.
With like, because everyone else and every other thing, it's been like, oh shoot, this I don't like how this is going. Let's try to stop this.
Where he's like,
no. this rules. I'm actually enjoying this pain now. I'm all gothy.
Yeah.
Go and kill. If they would have oomphed that up a bit more and maybe had more of that relation, instead of having like 80,000 Hatfield and McCoys.
Sure.
Just had like more Jody trying to speak reason into him or something, some sort of fight while he's changing and really enjoying this rather than just being like, hey, don't kill her. Now I'm mad at you.
Yeah.
Now I've seen, I guess, maybe this isn't a good idea.
Sure.
Now I'm going to try to stop you.
Yeah.
It felt very like turn on a dime.
Right. Ricky asks Jody to kill him. Ed Harley appears again. And now he has this time he had a weird like fuzzy mat around him.
Yeah.
He looked like a Force ghost a little bit.
Because he was green screened.
Yeah.
He's not there at all.
He is not there on that set.
Why not make him a ghost then at that point? I mean,
Sure.
I guess you can't, it would have been too much to make him a ghost throughout the entirety, but it just, that looks bad.
Yeah.
It looks real bad.
That's one of those like, and also what did Ed say to her at the end there anyway? I'm sure it wasn't
Nothing
that
useful.
important.
No.
So like, why did they feel like they needed to interject Ed at the end right there to go so far as to do a crappy effect with him on a green screen?
Yeah, just like, you got to shoot him again. I'm going to tell you that you got to shoot him again.
Yeah, I could have said this to you earlier, but I was being all cryptic and stuff. So
this visitation could have been an email. So she is trying to kill him, and there's a well right there, and they fall in the well. And then they have Ricky, like, Pumpkinhead's trying to climb out, and then Ricky, like, pulls him back in the well, and they fall. Apparently, this leads straight to hell or something.
Yeah.
This is it's not that deep. I wouldn't, it's a well.
See,
but, like, they fall down into utter darkness and, I guess, die.
I really like that kind of effect and concept if the rest of the movie had that kind of tone. Like, not saying that they needed to explain it and just being like, oh, it's the bottomless well. Like, I don't need that. I'm just saying, like, I like the capital W weirdness of then him, like, falling into the well, taking Pumpkinhead with him, and falling for all of eternity or something like that. Like, that works for me, but they didn't execute it so hot.
These movies, I think, because the lack of the same kind of atmosphere of mystery and magic that the first one had, because these don't have it and everything's just so much more sort of grounded in reality, you can't get away with that as much.
That's true. I bet you could have gotten away with that in the first one because it did feel mysterious.
Yeah, something with like Haggis would absolutely have a bottomless well.
Right.
Why wouldn't she?
Sure. She would also have a chicken leg hut, Baba Yaga.
That's true.
Yeah.
So the Pumpkinhead's dead, but some of the Hatfields are dead, some of the McCoys.
And that's it. Yeah. That's it. So ends Pumpkinhead. Falling into a bottomless pit. Again, could have been cool. Not really. No more Ed Harley.
Well, Ed Harley is going to be around forever. You can't get rid of that guy.
Oh, that's true.
But this is the first Pumpkinhead where there's not like a definitive death of Pumpkinhead.
Oh, a definitive death and like a hint at who might be the next Pumpkinhead. Even though they never follow up on that.
I mean, in two, he also falls down like a mine shaft, but he gets shot a whole bunch and it makes it seem like, he's done. But this one is a little bit more open-ended in that way. But he can stay down there. It's fine. I guess Ricky's dead, so that would kill him. Well, there was no body to begin with because she just dumped some oil in the woods. Like I said, it didn't. So, I don't know.
The lore is missing here. Yeah.
Missing lore to be added later.
Right. Let's honor our dead. It's a decently high body count in this one. Dirt bike rider, played by Florin Barkham. Head pulled off. Andy, played by Bart Seidels. Shot in the stomach. Sarah, played by Maria Roman, rolls downhill, hits head on tree. Bobby Joe, played by Ovidiu Nicolescu, burned alive. Brett, played by Razvan Opre, stomach slashed open, disemboweled. Tommy Hatfield, played by Callan Puya, pulled into pit. Emmett Hatfield, played by Alan Constantinescu, stabbed through mouth with own knife. Wayne, played by Deku Marion, thrown through the air, head lands in bear trap. Charlie, played by Aurel Buada, head stomped. Tristan McCoy, played by Elvin Dandle. Head squished. Johnson, played by Christy Fetter. Throat slashed. Johnny, played by Fane Ursa. Fist bitten off. Dale Hatfield, played by Daniel Tumescu. Disemboweled. Abner Hatfield, played by Rudy Rosenfeld. Slashed repeatedly. Dallas, played by Rob Freeman. Disemboweled. And that's it. My goodness. Four big pumpkin heads we got through. And not saying I'm better for it. Actually, yes, I am better for having seen 3 Pumpkinhead sequels, just to round things out. And all of you are better having watched them and listened along, I think.
Yeah, so, I can stop lying and claiming that I've seen 3 Pumpkinhead sequels. I can finally look myself in the mirror again.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, again, I love the monster. I like the setting quite a bit. I feel like they could have gone so much more atmospheric and interesting with the setting. Like we talked about in the previous episode, I think you can do something with like a decimated town, that's been left behind and like that kind of stuff. I do feel like the timelessness of those settings is really, really effective sometimes. In this one, there was like 1 or 2 like slightly modern cars, but not really.
Yeah.
So it could have been whenever. I like that a lot, actually. But just not engaging. And I didn't care about Ricky. I didn't care about this same old story. And
part of it is if you're telling a story about vengeance, it should either be a more personal tale that's like really you're emotionally connected to these things, like a bit you were with Lance Henriksen. I mean, it's a slasher movie. The first one is absolutely a slasher movie, but like there's an emotional thing there with Ed Harley. Or the alternate one is, do you make it huge? You make it this guy is going to kill all the Hatfields, and the Hatfields actually like are the meth kings of this town. So he has to like destroy a whole gang or something like that. John Wick style or something like that would be interesting. Instead of just like just a bunch of other just dumb hicks wandering around that I have to pick off one by one. And so it's because it's not even that exciting. You don't have that spectacle of it. Although like some of the physical effects were pretty decent. Like some of the gore was fun. But yeah, it was lacking a core that moved things along. There were just too many characters, like too many little things going on. Like I don't care about this blood feud as much. Like if you spend too much time explaining it, just have it be they don't like each other for this goes back hundreds of years, or just throw a number at it that it doesn't matter. We hate these people.
I believe that people are that dumb and hateful. I can get on board with that.
I mean, like, it's been years since I've read or seen Romeo and Juliet, but I don't think they go into a lot of like the backstory of he didn't write an index. He's not George R.R. Martin. But yeah, I don't necessarily need it for this, but they spent a lot of time with it. And so like, I think the plot just kind of gets stuck in that because of that, because then you're just nothing's moving forward other than just him chasing some dudes around and killing them.
And, if it's just pure vengeance, there's not a lot of places to go. And maybe we can expand on that in our wrap-up episode. Yep. But, like, this is such a very specific monster and a very specific motivation. And so there's not a lot of wiggle room as far as, like, what you can do with a story.
Right.
It's just pure vengeance. Just because I'm a completionist, I'm glad that we came this far. But, I can't say that I really enjoyed part 3 and 4. That much.
To quote listener Chumps Love Insta, oof, is basically my reaction to this. Oof.
Right. Oof. Yeah. It was a tough one. Yeah. But in the meantime, we're going to come back and talk about a wrap up here soon. I have a feeling it's going to be a shorter episode.
Probably.
Not a whole lot. And we're still trying to decide what we're going to do for our next franchise, but we're working on that. But in the meantime, thanks for everybody watching along with us, especially if you managed to find part 3 and part 4. That's pretty exciting. That shows dedication, and I love that.
Yes.
But we'll be back soon with a general horror movie catch-up bonus episode that we're going to record here soon. And I'll make sure to announce in the next couple of episodes what we are going to tackle next so that everybody can gear that up for their Halloween watch and watch along with us. So you can find us on Instagram at This May Hurt a Bit Pod, and you can email us at thismayhurtabitpod@gmail.com. John put a lot of work into our brand spanking new YouTube page. So if you listen to podcasts on YouTube, check us out over there at youtube.com/@hurtabitpod. Let us know what you think of that.
Yeah, you can be our third view on a video. Get excited.
Yeah. Should I go through and just like play a bunch so we get like a few more views? Can somebody write a script for that?
I wouldn't want to lie, not to YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Get some of that sweet 5-cent ad money. Mm-hmm. But yeah, everybody, thanks for watching along with us on this. I'll let you know what we're watching next on the next episode.
Yeah.
So good night.
Good night.
This has been a Two Penguins media production. It was produced by James Strayer and edited by John C. Myers. Logo by Ethan Kimberling and music by Michael Arthur Holloway, who you can find on Bandcamp. Follow us on Instagram at thismayhurtabitpod and on Twitter at hurtabit. Email us at thismayhurtabit@gmail.com. And if you are so inclined, rate and review us on your favorite podcast app, and we'll see you next time.